Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in the Dragon Ball franchise, Kid Buu is definitely one of the most popular and notable villains. Despite the fact that he was only in the Dragon Ball story for a single volume and the very ending portion of the original Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z, he has definitely remained among Dragon Ball fans, and not just that, but been seen as one of the most powerful and very much beloved villains in the story. Now, with that being said, Kid Buu has been said by many, including characters in the story, to be the most dangerous Buu of all. But why exactly is that? Well, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the real reason why Kid Buu is seen as the most dangerous in the story, the most troublesome Buu of all. But before I begin, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All of that helps you, especially if you're new, to see even more content by me moving forward. It also allows me to get your feedback, to know what's working, what's not. And for those of you who watch the entire video, well, that's going to help this channel that much more, as well as you to get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But with that being said, let's get straight into the topic. So I think part of what differentiates the Kid Buu from all of the other incarnations comes down to, in many ways, his birth into the story, or I guess rebirth, reincarnation, after what happens when Goku and Vegeta went inside of Super Buu's mind, in which, when they're in his body, they rip out the other components that he had absorbed into himself at that point, and then finally ripped out Fat Buu from within him. Now, a lot of people have wondered the question of why after this point does Super Buu begin to regress back through different forms of himself, of Buu that he had seen as Kid Buu before. Of course, we saw first off, he regresses into being this version of Buu, the Buff Buu, which is after Kid Buu absorbed the Grand Supreme Kai's lower adjunct, who was the Supreme Kai of the South, the strongest one of all, as the Kaioshin here says right here when he talks about how Buu originally came to be. He says right here that Bibidi's creation, Majin Buu, defeated all of them, and that he was the youngest and the least powerful, which we kind of get that impression in the story. And then the first two to die were the North and West Kaioshins, and then the toughest and strongest of us, South Kaioshin, was somehow absorbed by Buu. And that's how he became the strong Buu that was just being shown to us before in the story. So even in his purest and earliest form, the true form of Buu, pure Buu as he's known, also in addition to Kid Buu, we found out that, of course, he was already destroying and killing the most powerful gods in the universe at the time in the story, before Toriyama introduced the gods of destruction, the angels, and so on. And he himself was already a very powerful foe, greater than, according to Elder Kaioshin at the time, whatever it was that sealed him in the sword, before again Toriyama introduced Beerus and said that he did it, much like, the destruction of Planet Vegeta and a bunch of other stuff that he decided to say that he did retroactively. Even destroying the dinosaurs, despite the fact that they still, were there in Dragon Ball to this day. In fact, it was the soul of the Dai Kaioshin, the Fat Kai, that allowed Fat Buu to be reduced and weakened in a sense. And now without that within him, as we could see here in the truest form of Buu, Kid Buu, we have a unrestrained Buu who simply has no chill at all. As you can see right here, when the very first action he undertakes is to try and destroy the planet. Now, what happens, of course, is that Vegeta stops him from doing this. And then he says, along with Goku, that they should just fight against Buu, in that Kid Buu, is being kind of goaded by Vegeta here to have the two of them battle against him so that they could prevent him from destroying the planet. Of course, one of the reasons rears its ugly head, so we could say, in terms of why he is the most dangerous, the most triflesome, and the most difficult Buu out of all of them, because he doesn't really listen to that. Instead, he smiles, he laughs, and then he charges up a giant blast and unleashes it upon the planet, killing everyone on it except for Goku, Vegeta, Mr. Satan, Dende, and their dog Bee. Goku wasn't even originally able to escape from the planet in time before Supreme Kai showed up and saved him. So Kid Buu does the one thing that no Dragon Ball villain had succeeded up until that point, even though they had all the capability, and destroyed the planet. Even Super Buu, in his different forms, could have easily destroyed the planet. Fat Buu, of course, Cell, Frieza, and Vegeta even. But one of the biggest reasons why they didn't is something that Kid Buu here completely lacks, which is not only the idea of self-preservation, because after all, Kid Buu could just regenerate, as we go on to see him doing right here when he comes right back from blowing himself, the planet, and a lot of other things around it, probably with the diameter of that explosion, away, and then goes on in the anime to teleport to other worlds and blow them up time after time after time. But in the manga version, well, this is actually more frightening, because Buu, just having seen the Supreme Kai use the superior version of teleportation, where you could see or kind of have an idea in your mind of where you're going to teleport, and then in turn doing it. It's even more impressive than what Goku can do with the Shunkan, the instant transmission, in which he has to think of a person, lock onto their key signature, and go there. Buu has an even better version of that, and instantly, the second he had seen Supreme Kai do it one time, and he must not have seen him do it too well because he was really far away at the time when the planet was right about to blow up, he immediately can teleport to another dimension, to another planet on it, outside of the normal sphere, outside the afterlife, outside of heaven, hell, and King Emma's realm. Everything, as we see, he immediately comes right up, ready to fight, laughing in the face of the most powerful mortal fighters at the time. Thankfully, they know about Broly, because, especially if Kid Buu absorbed him, that would have been a huge mess. Going back to the idea of him destroying the Earth, none of them could do it because they had that mentality about them. They wanted to make everyone suffer, to drag everything out, to destroy just because they wanted to harm people. They didn't want, like Frieza on Namek, to just blow it up immediately and prevent the Super Saiyan from coming about and in fact killing him. They were far more malicious in what they were doing in terms of trying to torment their enemies before just kind of finishing off the planet in a final maneuver to basically give them the middle finger after they had won and satiate themselves. Like a cat and mouse game where the cat has the mouse but he keeps playing with them, because even though cats are cute, well, they also end up being horrible monsters depending upon if you're a mouse or not. But Kid Buu, well, he didn't have that chill about him, and so he blew up the Earth and then immediately squared up to a Super Saiyan 3. At which point he decided, well, let's get ready to rumble, and he started beating his chest, funny enough, like an ape, and got ready to battle against Goku. Now, during this, Goku hit Buu with everything he possibly could throughout the course of their fight, hitting him with various different strikes, infused with his ki, hitting him with different blasts over and over. He even bites the guy, something that he also did with Frieza and Beerus along the way, and yet nothing he does is enough to defeat Goku. He continues to copy his moves, he continues to take everything, get basically obliterated, and come right back, and no matter what, as Goku says right here, his ki never goes down. So Kid Buu not only is completely unrestrained in the fact that he doesn't care if he just blows up the planet immediately and even destroys himself in the process because he'll come back, he does not have a lot of the mentality. He is far more primal, more pure in being a force of nature, almost like an animal, like I said before when he was beating his chest. And not just that, but additionally, he has infinite stamina. So he's like the androids, but even more broken. He's like Cell, but even more broken. No matter what Goku does, even if you want to say that Goku is more powerful here than Buu, and a lot of people will go back and forth on that, not just that, but even if he is, he keeps coming back no matter what Goku is hitting him with. Goku says that the only way that he thinks that they would have been able to really win easily is with the Potara. But even then, the fact of the matter is, can Kid Buu even be killed, obliterated completely, and his energy totally wiped out by something that is not a special technique designed to do that? For example, we never see Vegito use something like the Spirit Bomb, which is eventually the move that ends up defeating him. And another thing is that we don't see Vegito use something like, let's say, Gogeta's Stardust Breaker or the Soul Punisher, which is something that targets the evil, malicious chi inside of it, just like the Spirit Bomb does. And I actually discussed and broke that down in a video you guys can see in the top right corner, in which I discussed whether or not this technique was the only thing that actually could have killed Kid Buu, or if perhaps there are other techniques or just a certain level of power that can do it. I mean, we saw Super Buu come back from smoke after all. But Kid Buu, well, he also goes on to do something that none of the other villains really were able to do up until this point, which is he just straight up stops the Spirit Bomb in its tracks. Now, Gohan reflected the Spirit Bomb because he was pure of heart. He was a good boy, so to speak. And also, Frieza was able to resist slightly as the bomb was dropping. Either that or the Spirit Bomb just dropped really slowly. I mean, it's Dragon Ball. Look how long a 5-minute fight lasted after all, especially in the anime version. But Kid Buu was able to resist, to push back against it, and in turn, not capable of being immediately just consumed and destroyed by it. Now, one of the things that they do say in the story is that perhaps one of the issues is that Goku didn't have the energy to actually ignite the Spirit Bomb afterward. It depends on the translation that we could see here with what Vegeta says. He usually says that he doesn't have the energy to unleash it. In this version, he says that he's too weak. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter is that Goku needed a Spirit Bomb with all the energy of everyone in the universe, as well as his friends and family, who are all vastly more powerful than they were the last time he used the Spirit Bomb on Namek. Even people from the afterlife, the Namekians, King Yama, and so on, and Buu is still pushing this energy back. And then in turn, he is only defeated after Goku gets his energy completely restored to him by the Dragon Balls. They have to use yet another Deus Ex Machina on top of a Deus Ex Machina, and let's just throw in some other ones like Buu weakening him and stuff like that along the way, to eventually then ignite the Spirit Bomb and obliterate him. This is the only thing that got the job done. This villain went on and on and on, and so too did his arc, dragging everything out worse than, the Chimera Ant invasion, Waco Mundo, and Namek combined, although not as much as Moro and most of the things that Toyotaro writes at this point in time, or the Tournament of Power in the anime for that matter. But still, it took the ultimate technique, the ultimate symbol of friendship, always surviving and winning in the end, and everything else that we see in tons of different animes and stories, the power of friendship is magic, whatever you say, to defeat this guy. And even then, that still wasn't enough for him to be removed from the story entirely. Because after all, he would be reincarnated immediately because of just how evil he was. According to Toriyama, he just got instantly purified and came back as another child named Oob, who was so powerful that he stole the plot armor away from Goku and the spotlight, stealing the Kinto in the process by making Goku give it to him, which is, basically how I'm going to recount the story, and then in turn became the new main character, except for the fact that he never actually did because, Toriyama never went past this point. And also when Toei did, they just gave us Dragon Ball GT where Oob basically did nothing. But that overall is why Kid Buu is so much more dangerous than the others. He might not be the most powerful Buu when we take into account Super Buu, and especially after he absorbs the others, but with regard to him in terms of his greatest strengths, those are the fact that he is unrestrained trained in many of the ways that the other villains in the story have been. And not just that, but he continues to come back from just about everything other than the ultimate Deus Ex Machina attack, the Spirit Bomb. And even then, the guy's legacy lives on, because even though he was barely in this story for a number of chapters, he still continues to be something that is constantly referenced. In Dragon Ball Super, they make note of him immediately, and his reincarnation Oob is always around the corner, waiting, ready to possibly take the torch and be the main character, or at least do something of relevance other than maybe distracting Baby for like 2 seconds. But other than that, well, that is why Kid Buu is so dangerous, and the most dangerous of all. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Kid Buu is in fact the most dangerous Buu out of all of them? Do you think that that was just kind of a way of hyping him up to be, the final villain? Or do you think that his danger does in fact come down to power? I mean, I didn't really get super into that, pun intended, well, maybe a little bit in this video, because the fact of the matter is that that is an argument that will just go on forever and ever and ever. And I'm sure I'll be able to make other videos about it, because this is YouTube after all, and we're always loving to make new topics about the same franchises all the time. But with that being said, guys, let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future. Unless Kid Buu blows up the planet.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.